Maverick and the Legendary Race. Chapter 1. Welcome to the Farm. Maverick darted through the towering rows of cornstalks, his laughter mingling with the morning breeze. Ahead of him, Bandit, his sprightly border collie, chased butterflies with boundless energy. It was an idyllic summer morning on the Thompson farm, which spread across acres of fertile land, bordered by the dense green willow woods to the north and the shimmering Silver Lake River to the south. As he reached the edge of the field, Maverick slowed, shielding his eyes from the sun, to look toward the old barn. This structure, a relic painted in faded red with peeling white trim, stood as a testament to the generations of Thompsons who had cultivated this land. Near the barn, his grandfather, Scott Thompson, worked alone, tinkering with an ancient tractor. Maverick had never seen it in operation. It was a vintage Alice Chalmers, its once vibrant orange paint now dulled and chipped. "Grandpa, need any help?" Maverick called out, his interest piqued as he approached. Scott looked up, his eyes crinkling warmly. "Sure thing, Mav. Hand me that wrench, will ya?" He gestured towards the tool lying on a cluttered makeshift table filled with metal parts and oily rags. Picking up the wrench, Maverick handed it to his grandfather and lingered, watching the skilled, weathered hands of the old man working on the engine. "Grandpa, what's so special about this old track?" Chapter 2. Secrets of the Past. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, Maverick and his grandfather Scott walked towards the old barn. The air was filled with the scent of freshly cut hay and the faint hum of evening crickets. Inside, the barn was cool and shadowy, with beams of the setting sun cutting through the slats in the wooden walls. "Grandpa, tell me more about these tractor races," Maverick urged, his eyes wide with curiosity. They settled onto some hay bales near the vintage Alice Chalmers they had been tinkering with earlier. Scott reached above to an old shelf, pulling down a dusty photo album. The cover showed a faded picture of a tractor similar to theirs, covered in victory ribbons. Opening the album to a page, Scott pointed to a photograph of a younger version of himself, standing proudly beside the bright orange tractor. "This was right after my first race win," he said, a touch of nostalgia in his voice. "These races were a big event around here, part competition, part community gathering. They tested a farmer's skill with machinery and knowledge of the land." Maverick leaned closer, captivated by the stories of races where local farmers showcased their agility and speed, navigating through challenging courses set up in the fields. It wasn't just about driving fast. It was about maneuvering, making tight turns, and knowing just how to handle the tractor under pressure, Scott explained. "Why did they stop?" Maverick asked, his brow furrowed in disappointment. "Times changed," Scott sighed, closing the album. "Farms grew and so did the machinery. The old races felt outdated to many, and the focus shifted more to efficiency and modernization. Plus, safety concerns grew. These races could be pretty rough on both the tractors and the drivers." "But, Grandpa, couldn't we bring it back? Just one more race?" Maverick's voice was filled with hope and excitement. Scott looked at Maverick thoughtfully, then smiled slightly. "Maybe, Mav, maybe, but it wouldn't be easy. You'd need to convince the other farmers, make sure we could do it safely, and most importantly, you'd need to learn how to handle a tractor much better than you do now." Maverick nodded eagerly. "I want to learn, Grandpa. I want to help bring it back." "All right." Maverick, brimming with eager anticipation, hurried across the dew-kissed grass towards the weathered, creaky barn where his grandfather was already bustling around the formidable, vintage Alice Chalmers tractor. Its once vibrant orange paint was now a muted, rusty hue, and every dent and scratch on its sturdy body told tales of its storied past. "Morning, Grandpa," Maverick called out, his voice echoing slightly in the vast, airy barn. Scott, wearing his well-worn denim overalls and a frayed straw hat, turned from the massive, cluttered workbench where he was meticulously organizing an array of polished, gleaming tools. "Good morning, Mav. Ready to start your training?" Scott's voice was robust and encouraging, his eyes twinkling with mischievous excitement beneath bushy, salt and pepper eyebrows. Maverick nodded, his heart pounding with a mix of nervousness and excitement. "Absolutely. I've been up since the crack of dawn just thinking about it." Scott chuckled, his deep, hearty laugh resonating warmly in the cool morning air. He patted the massive, cold metal of the tractor affectionately. "This old beast here is going to be your teacher for the next few days. She's tough, unforgiving, but fair." Their first lesson was simple but challenging. Scott showed Maverick how to check the tractor's ancient, robust engine, which was a maze of sparkling, greasy components that seemed almost alive as they hummed and throbbed with potential energy. Maverick learned to change the oil, a task that left his hands slick and grimy, and to replace the spark plugs, which were stubborn and resistant to his inexperienced fingers. As the morning progressed, the sun climbed higher, casting long, slender shadows across the barn's dusty floor. Maverick listened intently as Scott recounted the essential techniques for maneuvering the bulky, heavy tractor through tight spots on the farm. Each instruction was a golden nugget of wisdom, honed by years of experience and a deep, unbreakable bond with the land. After a short break, during which they enjoyed a hearty, well-deserved lunch of thick, homemade bread and rich, creamy soup, they moved on to driving practice. Maverick climbed into the creaky, worn driver's seat, feeling the rough, cracked leather beneath his hands. Scott stood beside him, giving calm, clear directions. "Ease her forward, keep it steady," Scott instructed, his voice firm yet patient. The tractor started with a loud, gruff roar, vibrating intensely beneath Maverick as he tentatively pressed the pedal. The sensation of controlling such a powerful, formidable machine was exhilarating. They spent the afternoon practicing starts and stops, turns and reverses, each movement becoming slightly smoother, more confident under Maverick's tentative guidance. By the end of the day, Maverick's muscles were sore, his skin was smeared with dirt and oil, but his spirit was soaring with triumph and pride. As the sun set, bathing the farm in a glorious, fiery display of reds and oranges, Maverick and Scott returned the tractor to its resting place. Maverick felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He was one step closer to his goal, fueled by newfound respect for the intricate dance between man and machine, and driven by the burning desire to revive the thrilling, bygone tradition of the midnight tractor races. Chapter 4. Gaining Ground. The sun was just peering over the horizon, casting a soft amber glow on the dew-laden fields as Maverick trudged towards the barn for another day of training. His muscles ached from the previous day's exertions, but his spirit soared with determination. Today wasn't just about mastering the controls of the tractor. It was about understanding its heart, the engine. Scott was already waiting, a broad smile creasing his weather-beaten face. "Ready to dive deeper, Mav?" he asked, clapping a strong, calloused hand on Maverick's shoulder. "Absolutely, Grandpa," Maverick replied, his eyes gleaming with resolve. They spent the morning dismantling parts of the tractor's engine. Scott taught Maverick how to clean the carburetor, adjust the timing belt, and check the hydraulic systems. Each component had its story, its quirks, and its particular way of fitting into the great puzzle that was the Alice Chalmers. As midday approached, Scott decided it was time for Maverick to take a more significant step. "Mav, knowing how to fix and drive this tractor is one thing, but understanding the land it works is another. Let's pay a visit to some neighbors. See if we can drum up some interest in bringing back the races." Maverick's heart skipped a beat. The prospect of actually reviving the races seemed both thrilling and daunting. They drove the tractor to visit their nearest neighbors, the Millers, who owned a sprawling wheat farm next door. Maverick had always been shy around Mr. Miller, a towering man with a booming voice. But today he found a new confidence fueled by his mission. Scott introduced the idea casually while they checked the Miller's farm equipment as a favor. "You know, Maverick here has been learning to handle the old Alice Chalmers. Got me thinking about the old tractor races. What do you think, Tom? Could be fun to bring that back, huh?" Mr. Miller, wiping his greasy hands on a rag, looked thoughtful. "Well, Scott, it's been ages since we had one of those. Could be a good bit of fun for the community. Count us in if you decide to go ahead." "Right, Nancy?" he called to his wife, who nodded enthusiastically from the farmhouse porch. Encouraged by the Miller's support, Maverick and Scott made a few more stops. Each visit built Maverick's confidence as he spoke more about the races, his words gaining strength and his vision becoming clearer with each telling. By the time they returned home, the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the barn. Maverick felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had not only learned to connect with the tractor and the land, but had also begun to weave the threads of community together. "Today was a good day, Mav," Scott said, his voice rich with pride. "You're proving to be quite the ambassador for our cause." As they stored the tractor away, Maverick couldn't help but feel that they were on the brink of something wonderful. The races were more than just a competition. They were a celebration of their heritage, their community, and now his growing journey. Chapter 5, Revving Up. The vibrant, early morning sun bathed the Thompson farm in a radiant, golden light, signaling the start of what promised to be a bustling, momentous day. Maverick, filled with an effervescent mixture of anticipation and nervous energy, bounded energetically towards the barn, where his trusty, rugged Alice Chalmers awaited. Today was not just another day of practice. It was the day they would officially announce the revival of the midnight tractor races. His grandfather Scott, with his wise, twinkling eyes and a comforting, ever-present smile, was already bustling around the barn. He was arranging an assortment of glossy, colorful flyers and posters on a long, weathered wooden table. Each flyer was emblazoned with bold, inviting letters that called out to the community, beckoning them to join the nostalgic, thrilling event. "Mav, let's load these into the tractor's wagon. We're heading to town," Scott declared, his voice booming with enthusiasm. Maverick eagerly grabbed stacks of the bright, eye-catching flyers, feeling the crisp, smooth paper between his fingers. Together, they loaded the tractor's sturdy, spacious wagon, piling it with not just the flyers, but also an array of charming homemade decorations. The festive garlands and banners feathers fluttered slightly in the gentle, whispering breeze, adding a celebratory flair to their mission. As they set off towards town, the tractor rumbled and groaned under its heavy, colorful load, its engine a powerful, steady heartbeat that echoed through the quiet, serene countryside. The journey to town was a picturesque montage of rolling, lush green hills, quaint, cozy farmhouses, and sprawling, fertile fields, all under the vast, expansive blue sky. Upon reaching the bustling, lively town square, Maverick felt a surge of exhilarating, electric excitement. The square was a vibrant hub of activity, with people milling about, engaging in lively, animated conversations, and enjoying the beautiful, sunny day. Scott parked the tractor, and they began distributing the flamboyant, eye-catching flyers to the enthusiastic, receptive townsfolk. Maverick took a deep breath and climbed onto the wagon, his heart pounding with a fierce, determined rhythm. He called out to the gathering crowd, his voice clear and confident. "Folks, we're bringing back the midnight tractor races. It's going to be an exciting, spectacular night of fun, community, and tradition. We invite each and every one of you to join us, participate, or just cheer. Let's make it a night to remember." The response was immediate and overwhelmingly positive. Cheers and applause erupted from the crowd, their faces alight with eager, joyful anticipation. Conversation sparked everywhere, people reminiscing about past races, speculating about this year's event, and expressing their eager, enthusiastic commitment to participate. As the day wore on, Maverick and Scott continued their cheerful, spirited campaign around town, their hearts swelling with pride and joy. By the time the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm, russet hue over the town, they knew they had reignited a cherished, beloved tradition. Exhausted but elated, Maverick and Scott returned to the farm, the wagon now empty, but their spirits full. They had not only revived an event, but had also strengthened the bonds of their community, weaving together old traditions with new, vibrant enthusiasm. Chapter 6. Community gears up. As the long-awaited day of the midnight tractor races approached, the entire town buzzed with a palpable, infectious energy. Everywhere Maverick went, he could hear the jubilant, excited chatter and the clanking, whirring sounds of tractors being prepped and tested. It seemed like every nook and cranny of the community was vibrating with anticipation and the spirit of friendly competition. Early one crisp, clear morning, Maverick joined his grandfather at the large, open field designated for the race. The field was abuzz with activity, as volunteers helped to set up banners and makeshift stands. The air was filled with the rich, earthy smell of freshly turned soil, and the sharp, tangy scent of oil and gasoline from the tractors. Maverick and Scott spent the morning walking the track, marking out the course with brightly colored flags that fluttered wildly in the gentle breeze. The course was a challenging circuit that wound around old oak trees, dipped into small valleys, and skirted the edge of a shimmering, serene lake. It was designed not only to test the skill and precision of the drivers, but also to showcase the beauty of their rural landscape under the moonlit sky. After the course was set, Maverick took a moment to stand on a small hill overlooking the field. He felt a surge of pride as he watched families arriving with picnic baskets, children running around with excitement, and old friends reuniting with hearty laughs and pats on the back. It was more than a race. It was a festival, a celebration of their community and its traditions. As the day progressed, Maverick was pulled into a whirlwind of tasks. He helped elderly Mrs. Johansson tune up her late husband's cherished Fordson tractor, a relic from the 1950s that needed a bit of coaxing to burr smoothly. He discussed race strategies with the younger contestants, sharing tips and tricks he had learned from Scott. The sun began to set, casting a golden, glowing blanket over the field. Lanterns and fairy lights were strung up, casting a soft, magical glow that twinkled like stars. The tractors were lined up at the starting line, their engines idling, creating a symphony of rumbles and roars that echoed through the twilight air. As darkness enveloped the field, Maverick gathered the racers for a final briefing. Standing in front of the crowd, illuminated by the soft, ambient light of the lanterns, he felt a moment of awe. He saw the faces of his neighbors, friends, and family, all united by a shared excitement and a common purpose. He realized then that he wasn't just participating in a race. He was helping to weave the fabric of his community tighter than ever before. Tonight, we race not just for fun or for glory, Maverick announced, his voice steady and clear, but to honor the bonds that hold us together, the traditions that define us, and the land that sustains us. Let's make this a race to remember. Cheers erupted from the crowd, echoing into the night sky. The air was electric with enthusiasm and camaraderie as the first race in over a decade was about to begin. Maverick climbed into his tractor, took a deep breath, and prepared to lead the race into the night. Chapter 7. Under the Moonlit Sky. The roar of engines filled the air as the tractors lined up at the starting line, their headlights casting long beams across the freshly mown field. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, their cheers rising into the crisp night air. Maverick felt his heart thumping loudly in his chest as he sat behind the wheel of the old Alice Chalmers, its engine growling like a restless beast eager to be unleashed. Beside him, racers of all ages made final adjustments to their machines. Old Mr. Henderson, with his wiry frame and twinkling eyes, gave Maverick a friendly nod. On his other side, young Ellie Johnson, a newcomer to farming but a fierce competitor, flashed a confident smile. Maverick returned their gestures, feeling a surge of camaraderie. Scott stood near the starting line, his face lit by the soft glow of the lanterns. Remember, it's not just about speed, it's about skill and enjoying the ride, he shouted over the din of the engines. Maverick nodded, his focus narrowing as he gripped the steering wheel. With a loud blast from an old air horn, the race began. The tractors surged forward, their engines thundering in unison. Maverick pressed down on the pedal, feeling the tractor jolt beneath him as it picked up speed. The crowd's cheers faded into the background as he concentrated on the winding path ahead. The course was challenging, with tight turns around ancient oak trees and tricky maneuvers along the lake's edge. Maverick expertly navigated each obstacle, his mind and body in perfect sync with the rumbling machine. He glanced occasionally at his competitors, noting their progress and admiring their techniques. Halfway through the race, as they neared a particularly sharp bend, Ellie's tractor suddenly sputtered and slowed. Maverick quickly maneuvered alongside her. "Need a hand?" he shouted over the roar of his engine. Ellie looked frustrated but nodded. Without hesitation, Maverick jumped from his tractor to hers, quickly assessing the problem. After a rapid adjustment to her fuel line, her engine roared back to life. "Thanks, Maverick," she yelled, her smile returning as she sped off. Maverick returned to his tractor, slightly behind now but undeterred. He responded, speeding along the moonlit track. The stars seemed to dance overhead, and the cool night air whipped past him, invigorating and alive. As the final stretch of the race approached, Maverick could see the finish line, lanterns flickering like fireflies in the distance. He gave it his all, engine roaring defiantly as he overtook one tractor after another. The crowd came back into focus, their cheers urging him onward. Crossing the finish line, Maverick was not first, but his heart was full of joy. He had competed well, helped a friend, and felt the exhilaration of the race fully. The winners were cheered heartily, but there were smiles and congratulations all around, reflecting the true spirit of the event. After the race, the community gathered around bonfires, sharing stories and laughter under the starry sky. Maverick sat beside Scott, both covered in dirt and grinning widely. "You did well," Scott said, his voice thick with pride. "Yeah, it was amazing," Maverick replied, his eyes sparkling with happiness. "It's about more than just winning, isn't it?" "It sure is," Scott nodded, looking around at the happy faces. "It's about bringing everyone together just like this." The night ended with songs and tales, the magic of the race weaving into the tapestry of their community's history. Maverick knew this was only the beginning of many races to come, each one a celebration of their collective spirit and love for the land. Chapter 8. Echoes of the Night. As the first light of dawn kissed the dew-soaked earth, the Thompson farm was enveloped in a peaceful, serene silence, a stark contrast to the previous night's exhilarating festivities. Maverick, his limbs heavy with exhaustion, but his heart buoyant with joy, walked slowly through the field where the races had taken place. The ground was littered with the faint, muddy tracks of tractors, each groove a testament to the night's spirited revelry. The air was crisp and invigorating, filled with the fresh, earthy aroma of upturned soil, mixed with the faint, lingering scent of gasoline. Maverick's mind replayed the night's events, each memory a vivid, colorful burst of laughter, cheers, and the thunderous roar of engines under the vast, starry sky. Later that morning, the community gathered at the local hall for a hearty, celebratory breakfast. The hall was a quaint, charming building, its walls adorned with old photographs and artifacts that told the history of their tight-knit community. Long tables were laden with an abundant, mouth-watering array of homemade dishes. Fluffy, buttery pancakes, sizzling, savory sausages, and steaming, aromatic coffee. The atmosphere was warm and convivial, filled with animated, lively conversations and the comforting, melodious clatter of dishes and cutlery. Maverick moved among the tables, greeted by smiling faces and friendly pats on the back. Old Mrs. Johansson, her eyes twinkling with mischief, leaned in to whisper, "You brought us all together, young man. This town hasn't buzzed like this in years." Maverick's cheeks flushed with a humble, bashful pride. He felt a deep, satisfying connection to his community, a bond that had been strengthened and deepened by the shared experience of the race. As the breakfast wound down, the mayor stood up to speak, his voice resonant and clear, carrying across the buzz of conversations. "Last night was a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. It was more than just a race. It was a celebration of our heritage and our community spirit. Thanks to Scott and Maverick, we've revived a tradition that I hope will continue for many years." applause filled the room, vibrant and hearty. Maverick looked over at Scott, who winked at him with a proud, affectionate grin. The rest of the day was spent in leisurely cleanup and casual, joyful recollections of the night's highlights. As Maverick helped Scott store the old Alice Chalmers back in the barn, he felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. The tractor seemed to stand taller, its orange paint glowing a bit brighter in the soft afternoon light. That evening, as Maverick sat on the porch watching the sunset with a glorious, fiery display over the fields, he reflected on the journey he had embarked upon. It was not just about the thrill of the race. It was about igniting a spark of joy and unity in the community. He realized he had found his calling, not just in racing tractors, but in weaving the rich tapestry of community life. As the stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, Maverick felt a profound, heartfelt gratitude for the adventure, for the bonds formed, and for the memories created, echoes of the night that would resonate in his and his town's heart forever. Chapter 9. Seeds for Tomorrow. In the sun-drenched days following the exhilarating midnight tractor races, a tangible, invigorating aura of unity and pride enveloped the quaint town. Maverick, once merely a curious, eager farm boy, now found himself at the vibrant heart of this newfound communal energy, revered by many as the pivotal catalyst for the revival of a deeply cherished tradition. One crisp, radiant morning, Maverick and his wise, venerable grandfather Scott were warmly invited to the bustling, lively local school to speak about the profound importance of community and enduring traditions. As they stepped into the cheerful, brightly decorated classroom, Maverick felt a flutter of nervous excitement. The walls were festooned with colorful, vibrant drawings and educational posters, and the air hummed with the lively, animated chatter of enthusiastic young children. "Good morning, everyone," Maverick announced, his voice steady yet imbued with a comforting warmth. The room quieted, filled with dozens of curious, sparkling eyes fixed attentively on him. "Today, I'm thrilled to share something truly special with you. Something that brought our entire town together. The midnight tractor races." As he recounted the tale, the children listened with rapt, unwavering attention. Maverick described the meticulous preparations, the thrilling race itself, and most importantly, the sheer joy it brought to everyone involved. He emphasized how each individual's contribution, no matter how seemingly minor, helped to weave a richer, more resilient community fabric. "Every one of you can make a remarkable difference," Maverick concluded, his voice resonating with heartfelt passion. "Just like each of you is an integral part of our town, every small action helps to create the grand, beautiful picture of who we are." The children erupted into enthusiastic, thunderous applause, their faces illuminated with inspiration. The teachers nodded appreciatively, their expressions filled with pride at the positive influence Maverick had on their pupils. Later that vibrant week, the town council convened a significant meeting, which Maverick and Scott attended with eager anticipation. The room was brimming with local leaders, all abuzz with innovative ideas inspired by the recent festive event. The mayor, a wise, astute woman with a sharp mind and a profound sense of community duty, initiated the discussion. "Maverick has vividly demonstrated how powerful our traditions can be in unifying us," she declared, her smile warmly inclusive as she regarded Maverick. I propose we make the Midnight Tractor Races an annual celebration, and perhaps introduce a series of additional community activities throughout the year. The proposal was met with unanimous, enthusiastic approval, and a new community board was swiftly established to plan future vibrant events. Maverick was honored with an invitation to join, an accolade he accepted with a mix of immense pride and profound humility. As the lush autumn season approached, the visible signs of the town's spirited revival were everywhere. New businesses sprang up, families enjoyed more quality time together in the great outdoors, and the once forgotten community garden was now flourishing with dedicated volunteers of all ages. One tranquil evening, as Maverick sat on his porch, watching the sunset paint the expansive sky with lavish strokes of pink and orange, he felt a deep, resonant sense of accomplishment. He had not only helped revive a race, but had ignited a movement that rejuvenated his entire community. I guess it's true what they say, Maverick mused to himself, a gentle, knowing smile playing on his lips. From small seeds grow mighty trees. The stars began to twinkle in the deepening velvety twilight, and Maverick knew that the best adventures were still to come. With his vibrant community behind him and boundless possibilities ahead, he was eagerly ready to continue planting seeds of change, nurturing them into tomorrow's enduring legacies.